All right, welcome back to ABA exam review and our latest RBT exam practice set, where we're going through this set together and breaking them down. If you're new to the channel, welcome. If you're returning, welcome back. Please like and subscribe. Check out btexamreview.com for all of our study materials. When you pass, let us know so we can include you in the Sunday shout-out card. Study hard. Let's keep going. A new group reinforcement system is implemented at an ABA clinic. One client receives services in the clinic and at home. Client's behavior decreases at the clinic, but then it increases significantly at home after the reinforcement system is put in place in the clinic. What is the most likely explanation for the increase at home? All right, kind of a convoluted question. So let's approach it slowly and make sure we understand what it's asking. It's asking about the increase at home. In this case, we have two settings. We've got a clinic setting and a home setting. We know what changed is the reinforcement system in the clinic. As a result, the behavior decreased. We're not sure why. That's what the question says. We know the behavior changed in the clinic because of the reinforcement system, but as a result of the reinforcement system being put in place. Nothing changed at home as far as we know, other than the behavior increased significantly. So in the clinic, the behavior decreased. At home, the behavior increased. So what is that term? We have two settings and the behavior goes one way in one setting and the other way in the other setting, and typically as a result of a change in schedules. It's a very specific term for it. Again, think about it. Behavior is going one way in the clinic, it's going the opposite way at home. So A and B, positive reinforcement, and B, negative reinforcement. We're not sure what's going on at home. Looking for the likely explanation for the increase at home. We're not sure it changed at home. The only thing we know that changed is the reinforcement system, the group reinforcement system, and that the behavior decreased at the clinic, but increased at home. We're not sure what exactly is going on in terms of consequences at home, so we can't say for sure it's positive or negative reinforcement. What about C, behavior regression? Now, you might hear the word regression a lot in practice, but regression is not actually a technical term we use, so we should never be answering questions using that term or idea of regression. So that leaves us with D, behavior contrast. And that's what we're looking for. If you think about it, behavior contrast. Well, the behaviors are doing what? They're contrasting each other. Behavior is increasing in one place, decreasing in the other. So when we change something in one setting, the behavior changes, and then the other setting, behavior goes the other way, that's a behavior contrast. The behaviors are contrasting each other. They're going in opposite directions because typically a schedule was changed in one setting and not in another. Again, why collaboration is so important? This reason right here, right? If we didn't change anything at home, okay, that could explain away why the behavior is going the opposite direction. So what is the most likely explanation of D, behavior contrast? A system where three siblings would be given an hour of Xbox time before bed and another 15 minutes that could be taken away contingent on behavior would be considered what? So if you glance at the answer choices, and we should never go straight to the answer choices, but sometimes it's kind of hard not to, right? It's pretty obvious it's a response cost question. So we're looking for what type of response cost is this? And this is when fluency comes into play. And this is maybe a higher level term, which is good. You know, the more exposure you get to all kinds of different terms, the better. So this is a good teaching question. We've got three siblings who get an hour of Xbox time before bed. They get another 15 minutes that can be taken away contingent on behavior. So we know it's a response cost. What type? We have A, extra. We have B, interval. We have C, bonus. We have D, mediated. So the answer is going to be C, bonus. We've got this already given hour, right? That's theirs to keep. And then we have another 15 minutes given on top of that that could be taken away. That's the response cost. So we've got this bonus time on top of the regular time that can be taken away if the behavior is whatever the target behavior is. So when you think response cost, if it's in a situation where you've got this bonus token or this bonus time or this bonus reinforcement that can be taken away, it's going to be considered a C, bonus response cost. It's okay if you're not familiar with that. This is a good teaching question. The more you expose yourself to as many terms as possible, the better off you'll be. Last night, Todd and his friends went out for Kentucky Derby to a watch party. Todd ate several spicy hot wings and woke up with severe heartburn. Todd took 2 antacids and the heartburn went away. Taking an antacid is what in relation to waking up with heartburn? All right, we've got a behavioral scenario And with behavior scenarios, we've got to make sure what? First things first, what is the question asking about? The question is asking about taking an antacid, and specifically in relation to waking up with heartburn. We need to find this particular part of the scenario. Determine, are we antecedents, responses, consequence, prompts? What are we looking at here? So let's find taking an antacid. So Todd ate hot wings, woke up with heartburn, and then he took 2 antacids. So there's our antacids in relation to waking up with heartburn. So he woke up with severe heartburn, then he took 2 antacids. So the antecedent is what? Severe heartburn. The response is taking the medication. So taking the antacid, taking the medication in relation to waking up with heartburn is A, the antecedent. Well, no, the antecedent is waking up with heartburn. B, the response. Yes, right? We have antecedent, behavior, consequence, stimulus, response, stimulus. The antecedent is waking up with the heartburn. Response is taking the medication. What's the consequence? The consequence is heartburn goes away. Is there a prompt? Apparently not. We have a pretty clear antecedent, wake up with heartburn. Response, take medication. Consequence, heartburn goes away. Taking the antacid in relation to waking up with the heartburn is B, the response. You're asked to take momentary time sampling data on the client's task engagement behavior. Intervals are set at 20 seconds. You must take 5 minutes of data. First 3 intervals, the client is engaged with the task 15 seconds, 5 seconds, and 12 seconds. How many responses do you record? Kind of a tricky question, so you've got to be very careful. It's a good lesson in slowing down. Go too quick, make sure you understand what the question is asking. We're talking momentary time sampling data. And momentary time sampling data, what are we looking for? We're looking at responses that occur at the end of the interval. Partial interval, if the behavior occurs at all. Whole interval, the behavior has to occur the entire interval. Momentary time sampling, we're looking for the end of the interval. So our intervals are set at 20 seconds, and we've got 3 intervals already. Client engaged for 15, 5, and 12. How many responses do you record? 1, 2, 3, can determine. So, can you determine this? What are you doing here? You're taking momentary time sampling data. So you're looking for at 20 seconds, right, at the end of the interval. All we know is how long the client engaged. What if they engaged the first 15 seconds? You'd have no responses. If they engaged the last 15 seconds, you'd have a response. We're just not sure. All we know is the duration that they engaged in the task during the interval. We don't know when it happened, and that's what you're concerned with momentary time sampling data. When did the behavior occur? Just because we know at the time, just because we have 15, 5, and 12, doesn't help us. How many responses do you record? We can't determine. We aren't sure. Steve has a second remote control that he uses to play tricks on his roommates. He will turn the TV off while his roommates are in the room watching, and then wait for them to engage in random responses to turn the TV back on. Whatever response the roommate engaged in when the TV turned on is the response they continue to engage in when the TV turns off again. Why? Tricky question, right? You've got to really visualize and think about this. The question is why? Why what? Why do the roommates continue to engage in the response when the TV turned on, when the TV turns off again? In other words, Steve has the remote control. He turns the TV off. The roommates start engaging in all kinds of responses. TV turns back on due to Steve. In the future, whenever the TV turns off, the roommates engage in the responses and whatever got the TV to turn on initially. What's happening here? Well, their behavior is increasing, right? And it's maintaining. So some sort of reinforcement is going on. Okay. Do we have positive reinforcement or negative reinforcement? Remember, it's not punishment because the behavior is continuing. Increasing, it's maintaining, can't be punishment. So is it positive or negative? Well, positive, we're adding something, negative, we're taking away. So we know, again, Steve turns the TV off. He waits for the responses. When he gets the response he wants, he turns the TV back on. Those responses persist. Turning the TV back on is the consequence. Is it positive or negative? Well, it's positive because they get the TV back. There's a positive consequence. It's added. The TV's added back in. And the TV turning back on, the consequence, maintains that future response. So whatever responses were made engaged in when the TV turned on is the response to continue to engage in when the TV turns off again. Why? Because A, positive reinforcement. Typically, Gregory naps 3 times during the day, but at Gregory's new daycare, he will only get to nap 1 time per day. parents are attempting to cut out one nap and then two naps while Gregory is at home to match the daycare schedule. What is changing relative to naps? We're looking at naps. What is changing relative to naps? We know Gregory's going to nap 3 times. Well, he does nap 3 times during the day. At his new daycare, he will only get 1 nap per day. So now they're going to cut out 1 nap. They're going to go to 2 naps. They're going to cut out 2 naps. They're going to go to 1 nap to match the daycare schedule. What is changing? A, frequency. Yeah, the count, right? The total number of naps Gregory is taking is changing. It's going from 3 to 2 to 1. B, duration. We don't know how long he's taking the naps for, so we can't say for sure duration is changing. C, latency. We don't know what the SD and the time in between that and his naps are, so we can't do latency. And then enter response time. Now, if we knew how much time in between naps he gets, we might be able to target into response time, but we don't know the time. Duration, latency, and IRT are all time measurements. We don't have time. All we have is a count. He's going to nap 3 times. Well, he does nap 3 times during the day. New daycare is going to be 1 time per day. What are they doing? He's going to cut out 1 nap and 2 naps. They're changing the frequency at which Gregory naps. Which of the following terms refers to the overall direction taken by a data path on a line graph? Data, it's a graphing question. Not doing it to scare you. It's teaching you, just trying to get you to be more familiar and comfortable thinking about graphs. Graphs are super easy. Okay. Thinking about variability, trend, baselines. These are pretty basic terms, right? The question is asking about the overall direction taken by a data path on a line graph. So if you can picture a data path, some data points connected together, we're thinking about the direction. Up, down. What is that called? A, variability. Well, variability is going to look at the amount of change in between each data point. Okay? If our data is very variable, there's a lot of change in between each data point. If it's not very variable, it's pretty smooth. What we're looking for here is the trend, the overall direction taken by a data path. The overall direction is up, we have an upwards trend. If the overall direction is down, we have a downwards trend. Baseline is data taken prior to intervention. We're talking about data path and the overall direction. What we're looking at is the trend. Again, if the data path is moving upwards, we've got an upwards trend. Data path is moving downwards, we've got a downwards trend. Which of the following terms refers to the overall direction taken by a data path? B, trend. You just passed your behavior technician exam and are excited to start working with clients. You are also enrolled in a master's program at your local college. You find out that the client you're assigned to is the son of one of your professors who is teaching a class you're taking. There is a good chance what exists in this scenario. So kind of an ethical question. A situation where you are going to start working with clients and you're enrolled in this program. One of your clients is the son of one of your professors who's teaching a class you're taking, meaning they control things like grades and outcomes. What's probably exist? A conflict of interest. Probably so, right? Because your work as a technician with this child should have no bearing at all on the professor in your class, but we know things happen. And this is why we try to prevent these scenarios, because yeah, maybe you two are the most ethical people in the world, which we hope, but things still happen. So just to prevent it, just to be safe, you shouldn't even be in this situation. There's a good chance a conflict of interest exists here for the professor and for you. Okay. If the professor starts asking you to do something with the client and you're worried about how it might affect your grade, that's bad. It's a conflict of interest. B, an illegal relationship. It's not necessarily illegal. It's unethical, most likely, but it's not illegal. And then C, a strictly professional relationship. We would hope, but again, a good chance of conflict of interest. If it doesn't exist now, there's a good chance in the future it will arise. So to avoid it, you should not take this case. There's a good chance what exists in this scenario when you're watching or working with the son of one of your professors. A conflict of interest. Excellent. Thanks for watching. Check out btexamreview.com for all of our study materials. As always, let us know when you pass so we can include you in the Sunday shout out. Work hard, study hard. See you soon.